Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for World Series of Fighting 22, Palhares versus Shields, which happens on August 1st. Overall, good card, good prospects. Islam Mamedov's fighting, whereas Abubakar Nurmagomedov, who's Habib Nurmagomedov's brother, is fighting. So while a fun fight with Mike Kyle and Clifford Starks. Sheymon Moraes versus Marlon Moraes should be really good. And an interesting stylistic matchup between Palhares and Shields is happening as well. So, yeah, good stuff here. Greatly looking forward to it. Let's just get started on the main card on NBC Sports. Rousimar Palhares fights Jake Shields. So Palhares is the current World Series of Fighting welterweight champion. He has a 17-6 record, 14 wins by KO or TKO, or 14 wins by sub, 3 wins by decision. He has no wins by KO or TKO, but 3 losses by KO or TKO. 35 years old, he'll be the shorter fighter at 5'8" on a 3-fight winning streak. Most recently beating John Fitch by leg lock, training out of Team Nogueira. We know Palhares' game. Power wrestling. I mean, when he takes you down, it's generally, he uses his strength and tries to take you down with authority, and he really hunts for those leg locks. Not to say he's not capable of other high-level submissions as well. When he took the back in his first run to UFC, he took the back to that armbar, and it's so slick. He is really slick. He submits legit black belts too, you know. Whether it's David Branch, who's now like a really good fighter. Fitch is a black belt. There's more too. I can't remember the names, but he has submitted a good amount of good, solid jiu-jitsu black belts. Jake Shields, also a jiu-jitsu black belt. Right? Yeah. 31-7 record with 1 draw and 1 no contest, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 12 wins by sub. Also has 2 losses by KO or TKO, 36 years old on a 2-fight win streak, training out of Cesar Gracie. And like I said, he's a taller fighter at 6 foot, and he's a former Strikeforce middleweight champion. Shields is an interesting case because he's a guy that has such obvious holes and weaknesses in his game, and his strengths aren't, except his ground, but like aren't that strong per se, yet he still wins fights. He's always a guy that like infuriates me in a sense, because it's like I'm always thinking like, how is this guy winning fights? His stand-up is not very good. He holds his chin up really high. He has no power in his strikes. I mean, he does try to outwork his opponent, but like it's not the most technically sound, nor does his strikes actually carry that much power. His wrestling isn't that great. He's not a power double guy. He doesn't have a crazy snatch single. But he knows how to win fights. One thing he's really good at is grinding his opponent against the cage, maybe hitting some knees, short knees and whatnot, and just grinding. He'll try and go for a single and just relentlessly try and get that single leg takedown. Once he's on top, though, he does shine. He passes guard very smoothly. He generally finds a dominant position, whether it's the mount or back mount. And he can definitely go to work with his superior submission game. He's also just tough as nails. I think his style works because he is just super tough, hard to put away, and won't go away either. Whereas with Palhares, he really is kind of a head case. He's a guy that, against Dan Miller, knocked him down and thought he won the fight, starts celebrating, gets dropped, ends up winning the fight, but still, he's also a guy that seems like once he gets ground and pounded, he almost looks like confused, like as if he's in a jiu-jitsu match and someone's throwing punches at him or something. Side against Nate Marquardt. He just like shells up in Alan Belcher. So it's really interesting just because they're so similar and so different. Like their mental games are different. Their durability is different. I wouldn't call Palhares the most durable guy, and Jake Shields, despite his flaws, is extremely durable. But they're both really good on the ground. But Shields more so on top, maybe more into scrambles as well. Whereas Palhares, real sneaky with those leg locks. He will fight from the bottom. I remember against David Branch, he was actually just fighting from the bottom for a while. But man, he pulls those leg locks out of nowhere. As far as who's gonna win, who I think's gonna win, here's my thing. Fight goes later than 2 rounds, Jake Shields. Within 2 rounds, Palhares. I think Palhares is more capable of getting the finish, whereas Jake Shields is more capable of wearing down Palhares. And it really depends on, do I see Palhares getting the sub on Jake Shields, or do I see Jake Shields more or less outlasting Palhares? I'm gonna go with the latter. It's tough to say though. Like I said, Palhares has avenues to win. It's not like he doesn't. It's not like his one skill, his grappling, his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. I mean, he is like a black belt's black belt. So it's tough to say. But I think Jake Shields can just outwork him. I can see him get taken down by Palhares early. I can see things getting hard for Palhares later. I can see Jake just throwing those punches, stinging Palhares here and there, death of 1,000 needles type of deal. He's not going to knock him out, maybe not even drop him, but just wear him down and do what Jake Shields does and just wear down his opponent. And Palhares is the type to break. I really feel that way. Whereas Jake Shields, this is a guy that was getting killed from Hector Lombard, and he still wanted to get that guillotine at the end. This is a guy that will fight like Tyron Woodley, and he just plays his game, and even though he's getting outstruck, he's not the best striker, he just plays his game until the other guy breaks, and that's the thing. In a sense, I have to admire Shields for that. It's not aesthetically pleasing, but it is his game. I've kind of learned to accept it, and it takes a really high-level guy to beat a Jake Shields. Palhares could be that guy. I just don't. I think he's gonna just fall eventually, and I'm gonna go Jake Shields by decision. Next fight after that, Marlon Moraes fights Sheymon Moraes. Fun fight here. It's for the bantamweight title. Sheymon Moraes, 7-0 undefeated record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by decision. 24 years old, training out of Team Nogueira. Striking's the name of his game. So this should be fun. Marlon Moraes, 14-4 record with 1 draw, 5 wins by KO TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO and 2 losses by sub. 27 years old on a 9-fight win streak. Trains out of Ricardo Almeida Jiu-Jitsu with Frankie Edgar and Edson Barboza, among others. He is the current World Series fighting bantamweight champion. I think, is he the first and only? His Muay Thai game is really strong. He has some leg kicks that are devastating. He can one of the biggest problems with Moraes, so he can kind of take his foot off the gas, especially later in the fight. His ground game's really improving too. He's hard to take down now. He's hard to keep down. And he'll also go for his own offensive takedowns and go for subs as well. He submitted one guy. I forget his name. But he submitted one opponent pretty recently, actually. Excuse me. Interesting enough, though, when Josh Hill fought Moraes in the first round, Hill actually managed to hurt Marlon Moraes pretty bad. I gotta wonder if early Sheymon Moraes could potentially hurt Marlon Moraes. That's really the only way I see him winning, though. Moraes just has more experience. He's really good on the stand-up, and now he also has a very good. Well, now it's funny I say now because he's always been relatively good on the ground. It's just now even more so. He can also take it to the ground if need be too. I'm gonna go with Marlon Moraes here. I'll go by late. Go by late KO or TKO actually. I can actually see him wear down Sheymon Moraes eventually, and maybe get a finish late in the fight. I can actually see Moraes even getting a sub too. Maybe take the back and get the choke or something like that. But like I said, I think Moraes is just way more experienced. It's higher level competition. He's done 5 rounds. I think this Sheymon's like one of the biggest fights of his career too. I don't know how he's gonna handle that type of pressure. So he's got a great future for him though. Sheymon Moraes is a top prospect. But Marlon Moraes is firing on all cylinders right now. So Marlon Moraes, KO or TKO for the win. Next fight that, Mike Kyle fights Clifford Starks. Mike Kyle, 21-12 record with 1 draw and 2 no contests. 13 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 6 losses by KO or TKO and 4 losses by sub at 35 years old. He'll be a taller fighter at 6'3", and probably just a bigger fighter in general too. This guy has fought at heavyweight and light heavyweight, and he trains out of AKA. Name of his game really is his stand-up. He has good boxing. He'll use a jab. His takedown defense has actually been improving. It's generally against like he can defend the first takedown well. It's probably like subsequent ones he probably couldn't work as well with. Like I said, real heavy-handed guy though. Mike Kyle is. His chin has been getting cracked more and more as of late, though. And I think Kyle was actually thinking of retirement, or did retire at one time but came back. Clifford Starks, 11-2 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub, 34 years old. He'll be the shoulder fighter at 5'10". He's on a 3-fight win streak, training out of Arizona Combat Sports. He is taking this fight on short notice. I actually forgot who Mike Kyle was supposed to fight. This is interesting because Clifford Starks, his stand-up's been greatly improving. I actually was always impressed. Not impressed is the wrong word, but I always thought he had solid stand-up ever since he fought in the UFC. And then he also has that wrestling to go along with it. This one's actually really hard for me to call because Kyle hits really hard. He can defend takedowns relatively well. He'll also be the bigger fighter, so I don't know if Starks will have an easy time even if Starks goes that route. I don't know if he'll have an easy time taking Kyle down. Clifford Starks, I do like his stand-up. I think it's great. I think it's improving, and he does have the wrestling to go with it. He's not as shop-worn as Mike Kyle. If anything, Starks is probably in kind of at his peak at this point. Kyle, like I said, he's been cracked here and there. Man, this one's really hard for me to say. I'll go Starks. I'll go Starks by decision. I think he'll try and take the fight to the ground. Kyle has been cracked. I think Starks could actually hit him clean a couple times as well. I'll go with Clifford Starks by decision there. Next fight after that, Jorge Moreno fights Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov, 9-1 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. So one loss by TKO. Trains at a Fight Spirit team along with his brother, Abib Nurmagomedov, and there's others too. And I totally forgot who. He's never been past the second round. You know, he's like his brother actually. You know, he has the wrestling background. He can take you down in different ways and whatnot. Jorge Moreno, 4-0 undefeated record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. Unfortunately, I was not able to watch any footage of him, so I can't speak to what skills he has. I also have to think that this is something. I mean, the signing of Abubakar Nurmagomedov was kind of hyped for World Series of Fighting. I can't imagine they'd match him up with an opponent that he wasn't at least favored to beat, and maybe even be able to showcase his skills. So I gotta go with Nurmagomedov by KO or TKO to win this one. So after that, Jimmy Spicuzza fights Islam Mamedov. Mamedov, 11-1 record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 7 wins by sub, 25 years old, on a 10-fight win streak. Trains out of Champion with the likes of Frodo Hospalayev. He has some good wrestling and some good submission grappling skills. Jimmy Spicuzza. Spicuzza, 6-2 record, 3 wins by sub, 3 wins by decision. 30 years old, trains out of Drysdale Jiu-Jitsu. He's actually been fighting at World Series of Fighting in his last couple fights. Stand-up's alright. I've seen some of his fights. Not bad wrestling. He's good on the ground as well. With that said, actually, I think Jimmy Spicuzza is actually not too bad from what I've seen from him. I think Islam Mamedov's better. He's a better prospect. I think he might be able to take the fight to the ground more, work a top game, and possibly even get the sub. So I'm gonna go Islam Mamedov by. It's kind of tough because Spicuzza, actually his strength is by submission. So I'm actually gonna go by Islam Mamedov by decision. Get on to prelims. Honest truth, I don't know, except for Davin Clark and Jake Heun. I don't say Heun. Jake Heun. I don't know any of these other guys, so it's just a pick 'em for me. Davin Clark, 5-2 record with 2 draws. 2 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. 33 years old. He's 6'2", training out of AKA. I believe he fought in Bellator, right? But he lost against. Jeez, I forgot. Former UFC guy. Totally forgot his name. Stand-up's not too bad. He can wrestle a bit as well. I remember I wasn't particularly impressed with him, though. He looked decent, but not like anything great to me. Jake Heun, 7-4 record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. All 4 of his losses are by submission. 27 years old. He's 6'2", trains out of ATT. He's a good wrestler. His stand-up's actually not too bad. This guy's submission defense sucks. I mean, this was a guy that was on the Ultimate Fighter twice and lost the fights to get into house. One of them, he's totally winning the fight, and then the guy armbars him from the bottom, and Jake Heun just taps. This guy's submission defense is horrible. Man, nonetheless, I'm hoping Jake Heun can turn it around. I remember he was actually a pretty good, when he was coming into MMA, he was actually a pretty good prospect. His wrestling's really good. He's not a bad fighter. It's just that one flaw in his game, really, and his gas tank ain't that great either. I'll go Jake Heun to win this one. I'll go by KO or TKO here. Next fight, I won't even say KO or TKO. I can't really say for these next fights. So I'll just pick a winner. Donavon Frelow fights Carlos Garcia. A lot of fights between guys in one fight team and Extreme Couture, by the way, in these prelims. So, Frelow, 4-0, undefeated record, 3 wins by sub, 1 win by decision, training out of one fight team. Carlos Garcia, he has no pro MMA bouts. He has a 1-1 amateur record with his 1 win by decision as an amateur, training out of Extreme Couture. I'll go with Donavon Frelow to win that one. Next fight after that, Jimmy Jones fights Marco Simmons. Simmons, 4-0, undefeated amateur record. I don't think he has any pro fights, though. So 1 TKO as an amateur, 2 wins, 2 subs as an amateur. He's only 22 years old, training out of one fight team. Jimmy Jones, 4-3 pro MMA record with 2 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub, 20 years old on a 2-fight losing streak, training out of Extreme Couture. Here's the problem. Like, you know, at least with Marco Simmons, he's young. And a young guy, most likely, is going to constantly improving. Jimmy Jones, though, he's only 28. And he has a lot more pro experience. But his record's nothing great, and he's on a losing streak. So, I'm actually going to go with Marco Simmons here. But, I can't say I'm confident with that pick. Even though I'm just looking at stats. So, it's pick him anyways. So, really don't take my word for it here. Next right after that, Cory Hendricks fights Julio Hinojosa. Hinojosa. Hinojosa, 3-1 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 1 loss by... And his one loss is by TKO, and he's never been past the first round. Cory Hendricks, 1-0 record with his 1 win by sub. Training at a syndicate. I really like the syndicate camp. I want to say Mike Pyle trains there. Jamie Moyle, Roxanne Modafferi, but there's some really good guys training out of syndicate, and I actually, especially with Jamie Moyle and Roxanne Modafferi, you can see a good amount of fighters actually really improving their skills under syndicate. So I actually like that camp a lot. Is that enough for me to think he'll beat Julio Hinojosa? Sure, what the heck. Cory Hendricks for the win there. And finally, Guardado fights Pete Martin. Martin, 5-3 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub, 29 years old, on a 3-fight win streak, training out of one fight team. Guardado, 3-1 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. Also has 1 loss by submission, so he's a finisher. He's never been past the second round. He's 29 years old, training out of Extreme Couture. I'll go with Guardado for the win there. Okay, to recap, on the main card I have Jake Shields over Rousimar Palhares, Marlon Moraes over Sheymon Moraes, Clifford Starks beating Mike Kyle, Abubakar Nurmagomedov over Jorge Moreno, and Islam Mamedov beating Jimmy Spicuzza. On the prelims, I have Jake Heun over Davin Clark, Donavon Frelow beating Carlos Garcia, Marco Simmons beating Jimmy Jones, Cory Hendricks over Julio Hinojosa, and Guardado beating Pete Martin. So that's it for my predictions for World Series of Fighting 22, Palhares versus Shields. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.